Welcome everybody to Hidden in the Universal Vault. I'm Ryan, your host, and I thought this time we'd go all the way back to the 1960s as we take a look at a film starring the king of rock and roll himself, Elvis Presley, who co-stars along with the queen of comedy in this romantic roles, or more of a romantic drama, Elvis Presley, Mary Tyler Moore, and we're taking a look at 1968's A Change of Habit. Now, before I go on with this, not knowing the fact that this would be Elvis's swan song, his final movie as an actor, but this also marked the fourth film starring Mary Tyler Moore, coming from the heels of the Dick Van Dyke Show. So she made this movie after the Dick Van Dyke Show has come to an end. So this movie was released in 1969. This was also coincide with NBC Productions. There was a time actually when NBC made feature films, but Universal was the main studio. And this also would be the King of Rock's only time he worked for the studio. Now, a little backstory on this before I go on with the review. So, to run this down, Elvis had a comeback show in 1968. That was a huge hit that greenlighted him to work on this film. The thing is, Colonel Parker, who was Elvis's manager, got a phone call from Universal saying, "Hey Elvis, come into my office. Would you like to star in this film?" So the movie is actually set in New York City, but it's actually filmed at the Universal Studios backlot. This is around the time movies were shot at the backlot. So Elvis, like I said before, was interested in making the film because of that 68 comeback special. So that's the gist of this film, and more on what happened in the production. But anyways, let's actually talk about A Change of Habit. So Elvis plays an MD. He plays John Carpenter, Dr. John Carpenter. So the beginning of the film focuses on these three nuns. They head down to the inner city of New York City. This movie is basically, the movie almost reminds me a little bit of Sidney Poitier's To Sir with Love, where they basically focus on a guy that works in the inner city with the ghetto side of New York City. Even though the movie shot at the studio backlot, the movie is set in New York. So three nuns alongside. The movie also has Barbara McNair and Jane Elliott. Also has Ed Asner. Yeah, Ed Asner is in this movie as well. So that's interesting. He plays a police officer that stops, that he's not in through, he's only near the end of the film. So, anyways, so he basically helps these patients a lot in the ghetto neighborhood. Although it's funny enough that this movie, for a G-rated film, there's actually quite a few bit of language in the film. Not like R or PG-13 language, just couple of minor swear words in it. So be warned if you do decide to watch this. So basically, he's like this doctor, and though it deals with the first time, we also introduced to the first autistic child in a movie. Yeah, this was the first movie to depict an autistic child. There's a scene in it where this woman takes her niece, her sister's kid. So Elvis is asking, "Is this your sister's kid?" I can't do the Elvis voice. But anyways, no, he says to the woman, "This is your kid?" He's like, "No, it's my sister's." So basically, Elvis is trying to hold the child to get to speak. And the child doesn't even know how to speak, so she's messing with building blocks. And Mary Tyler Moore is this nun who also plays who's also a doctor and assistant to the Elvis character, who's the doctor. Also, the other nun, Barbara McNair's character, she's another receptionist. Though I want to let you know something now before I continue on. There is I hate to bring this up, but there is the dreaded N-word in this movie. They use the N-word once, so just to warn you guys, if you feel offensive, be warned, the one girl says the N-word. That's it. So there's some really hard, again, this is around the time So the scene where she uses that, she meets up with these two members of the Black Panther. I assume they're members of the Black Panther or maybe the Nation of Islam. I don't know. So they meet up with that. Then there's a guy that she sees gets beat up and mugged and thrown in the car as these two men are driving off. That can be very hard for some people to watch this, so be warned when you do watch this. In terms of Elvis's acting, like I said again, I love Elvis. I've listened to his music. He's an amazing singer. When Elvis sings, it's awesome. When he does an action scene, because there are a couple moments where he'll just step in and start punching, fists will fly. That's awesome. The scene where he's like aggressive holding the child while she's trying to speak, and Mary Tyler Moore's character, I forget her name in the movie, she's holding her legs and she's like, that's it, Amanda. Oh, her name's Amanda. It's like, that's it, Amanda. You can do it. Get mad, get angry at me. And the child says mama, and shocked enough. But Elvis doesn't even, honestly, his character doesn't even know. John Carpenter doesn't even know the child is autistic. Who might have said that maybe she needs to go to care or something. So he helps her out. He grips a hold of her like that really hard. And every time Moore's like holding it. So as soon as that happens, it's like a miracle. It's a really powerful scene. I'm just going to let you all know, I'm actually diagnosed with autism. So I wanted to kind of bring that up though. And watching that scene kind of made me a little bit more scarred. I'm diagnosed with autism, and that honestly the character didn't look autistic. She looked more of a child with Down syndrome. I feel like that. But they might be two of the same things. I'm not a doctor, so I can't say anything for that. But really powerful scene. So eventually Elvis becomes the father figure to this little girl. Then he starts singing. The song in this main song is Rubbernecking, which is an awesome song. Great Elvis song. In fact, when Elvis sings, he is phenomenal and he's fun to sing. But sadly, when it comes to his acting, he still didn't like. This is 1969. His acting should have improved. Unfortunately, his acting is so dry. The only Elvis movies I saw were this that I'm reviewing, King Creole, and Fun in Acapulco, which Fun in Acapulco was actually the movie my dad saw in theaters, and Viva Las Vegas. So when he does those songs in the movies, he's great. But his acting is just so dry. It felt wooden, and it felt like Elvis didn't even want to be on the set. And I think the problem is Colonel Parker forced him to take this role and said, if you go to this role, if you take the role, you'll be at the back lot. You'll be at the Universal Studios back lot. But NBC liked it. They contacted Universal. Universal called Colonel Parker and said, hey, Universal gave me a call. Would you like to do this movie? He was hesitant because he was there for the money, and the money was there, and that's why he decided to take the role. It is really a shame because other than that, this movie is a lot of fun. This movie is a near-perfect film. I think a lot of these older movies, though there are some moments that might be offensive, like the use of the N-word, language, civil rights, Black Panther movement. This movie came out during that time of the Black Panther movement. And that's why they add two characters that might be... They don't explain the movie, but basically in my mind, I'm thinking as I'm watching the film, yeah, they're members of the Black Panther movement. But keep in mind, this was 1969, so I don't know. But the movie, like I said, in the whole is really good. The ending is very solid. There's another character in it named Julio who's just a complete wacko. Essentially what he is, yeah, he's a psychopathic nutcase. Like, his guy felt like he was abused by family members. So one guy just keeps slapping him. Mary Tyler Moore's character, he has scissors, and he's like going to just start attacking. He's like, give me the scissors. They're sharp, give them to me. So there's also a very uncomfortable sexual assault scene near the end of the film. So that might feel uncomfortable. There are some very uncomfortable moments. I felt uncomfortable though, but when Elvis comes in, he really comes in and just jumps in, basically scares the guy. But I'm not going to give out how the outcome comes. You're going to have to watch this. There's another scene where they're playing football. That's beautiful. There's a scene where they're at the carousel. That's great. Singing to the little girl to tell her to smile. She eventually smiles. They're at the festival and she ate a couple hot dogs. Like, oh, you got some mustard on your face. Let me clean that up. So Mary Tyler Moore plays a saint in this movie. And Mary Tyler Moore is gorgeous. There is a woman who's just extremely gorgeous. This movie is a ton of fun. If you can ignore Elvis's acting, this movie is fun. Will I say it's the greatest movie I watch? Not really. There's tons of other movies from the 60s I enjoyed better. In fact, I think Mangle, I think that's the movie I covered. The Henry Fonda film, which just came out in 1969. I felt that movie was slightly better than this, but this is a close second. No, wait. Ghost of Mr. Chicken, I think. Out of all the Universal movies from the 60s, I think this comes second to Ghost of Mr. Chicken. I just think they're just perfect films. This is around the time they went by Universal Presents instead of Universal Pictures Presents. So that's neat. You get the old school The End, a Universal Picture, Universal Picture, something like that. You get the old school G rating logo at the very end of the film. So I digress. Is there anything else I can say about the film that... Is there any negatives? Before I go ahead, and I'm just kind of going to read ahead what I thought. Give me a sec, guys. The guy looking for the Wikipedia page. They use folk music in Mass. So yeah, apparently they use folk music in the song Let Us Pray, which is the closing song. Yeah, I forgot to mention this, but the mention about the character Amanda, who is autistic, it says here, according to the Wikipedia page, is believed to be the first portrayal of autism in a film by name. It actually portrays a common misdiagnosis of deafness, and once a man is autism defined, she's treated with therapy quite common. This is known as rage reduction therapy. I kind of bring this up because actually during the movie, there actually was a doctor, I think, on the set. They also talk about that in it. Oh, here we go. Production. Here's what I want to read before I go into the final verdict. Around the time they made this, apparently Colonel Parker, who was Elvis's manager, looked the guy up. I hate to say this, but Colonel Parker was not a nice man. He was really mean and nasty to Elvis. I mean, if you watch Baz Luhrmann's Elvis, that might tell you more about it, but I'm not going to talk about that much. But apparently he wanted to do the make them quick and make it cheap. That was Colonel Parker's idea. But Presley's films make less profit this year. In recent years, I should say. Sorry about that. Apparently they used $1 million fee. So he actually struck a deal with NBC to produce one feature film and a TV special, Elvis, which is a 1968 comeback show. So that success would get Colonel Parker to convince Elvis to do a film for the studio. His only movie for the studio. But even though the movie set in New York City, it was shot in Los Angeles at the Universal Studios lot during March and April of 1969. So yeah, the movie was released in November 10th, 1969. It peaked at number 17, though this is what I don't get. I'm not a fan of Rotten Tomatoes. I normally don't listen to Rotten Tomatoes. But this movie, honestly, has a 10%. Honestly, they're saying it's the worst Elvis movie rated on the site. And I call BS. This movie is not horrible. This movie is fun. This movie should have got a 50%. I normally don't rant about Rotten Tomatoes, but I don't like Rotten Tomatoes. My folks always say, oh, if Rotten Tomatoes doesn't like it, I don't watch it. No. I judge a movie on its merits. I watch a film. If it's good, it's good. I keep it. If it sucks, I get rid of it. if it's an okay keep, mean by it's okay, but I'll probably watch it eventually down the road. I will do that with any movie I cover for this channel. It has to be a movie that I have covered on this channel that's related to the studio. This movie is fun. I don't understand why this is 10%. Sure, the use of the Black Panther movie, the use of the N-word, and a child that's autistic might make people feel uncomfortable, but this is 1969. This studio is not afraid to tackle darker subjects. In the days of movies, in the days of Blumhouse, yeah, that could work. They can do that with Blumhouse. But when a movie made in the 60s, that's a total different story. I mean, come on. I mean, I watched Mangle, and I watched Night of the Following Day. Night of the Following Day came out. Night of the Following Day with Marlon Brando had a nude scene, had a topless scene, and that was 1969. So, again, this is a whole different movie. They're two different movies, but I wanted to bring that up. So, like I said again, let's get down to it. But before I go ahead, before I run out of battery juice, let's take a look at the artwork. Honestly, this is pretty good. Now, Kino Lorber will put this out on Blu-ray with a commentary track. This one only has a theatrical trailer. And actually, there's another Elvis DVD from Universal, which is like a documentary. Gotta hunt down that one someday. And yeah, it says recommendations, but honestly, that's not really a special feature. In terms of real special features, you just get the trailer. But I don't really show this often, but we actually have some pretty nice disc art. So even though despite less special features, you did get some pretty snazzy disc art on the DVD. So yeah, like the tagline says, when the king of rock and roll meets the queen of comedy, romance rules. And yeah. So yeah, the songs in the Rubbernecking, Let Us Pray, and the title song, Change of Habit. I like Rubbernecking better. But anyways, like I said, go listen to Elvis' music. But I digress. Let's actually get to what I want to... Let's get to it right now, and let's get to it. Final verdict. Should you see a change of habit? Yes. I can recommend this easily. This is a really fun, near-perfect film. If Elvis's acting improved, then I would say this is a masterpiece. But, and for those who don't know what a habit is what nuns wear. So I forgot to mention that. But it's Elvis. He's fun. Even though the acting, once again, is dry and wooden, that's the charm what makes Elvis fun. There's good scenes. There's heartwarming scenes. There's decent acting. The cast is really good. Some of them being unknown, except for Mary Tyler Moore and Elvis Presley. Barbara McNear, I've never even heard. I never knew who that actress was. But anyways, it ends really good. It ends solid. It's a fun movie. I wasn't bored. This is not a perfect movie, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying everything is perfect. This movie is very, very good. It's not great. It's not a masterpiece. It's a fun watch. You'll have a fun time watching this. I can highly, highly recommend A Change of Habit. If you haven't seen this movie, go track this one down. I think you'll have a lot of fun. If you like Elvis in general, go listen to his music because he's fun to listen to. I do listen to him at times when I'm bored. He's done some great songs, but he's also done one fun movie, and Change of Habit is that movie. So, yes, I can recommend this. Not highly recommended, but I recommend it. If you ignore Rotten Tomatoes, check this film out yourself. Well, that's it for this review of A Change of Habit. Thank you guys so much for watching. I had a really fun time with this movie. And check back on the channel. I got plenty other good things coming up. So be on the lookout for a couple more reviews. I got one more in November, and then next week we'll kick off December. So we're getting down to the nitty-gritty, guys. I hope you guys enjoy this. If you're not subscribed to the channel, feel free to subscribe onto the channel. Check out all of, comment, do yourself a favor, subscribe. If you like any of these reviews, check them out. What did you think of Change of Habit? I would like to see the comments about it. Maybe there are a few things I miss. But anyways, as always, keep watching those Universal movies, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.